Steven, how will you remember the Gardner Minshew era of Raiders football?
LeBron James has heard of me, man.
That's not bad.
That's all. That's what I'll remember. Not even anything that he did on the field, but that Max Crosby interview or that Crosby podcast. That's what I'll remember about Minshew's time. I don't want to remember what Minshew did on the field for the Raiders because it just didn't go great.
Yeah, I don't feel like there was ever any fun Raider moments with Gardner Minshew. Maybe like his photo shoot where he was doing all the weird faces and whatnot. But besides that, I never thought we got like the same Gardner Minshew that was on the Jaguars or like Philadelphia Eagles. Like no jorts, nothing fun. No, like yeah, there was the comeback win against the Baltimore Ravens, but that's about it. Besides that, it was Gardner Minshew sucks.
Yeah, he was like the worst version of himself, which I hated, and I'm not blaming him for that. I do think that he needed to. I mean, you were right from the beginning. He needed to stick around with Shane Steichen. Like going anywhere else just wasn't going to work for him. And I don't know. You think any team's going to want to sign him
as a backup? Yeah, I think so.
You think so? I hope
he's not a starter in this league. That's the way it should have been. The Raiders should have drafted a quarterback in the first round last year. They underestimated how much the Atlanta Falcons wanted Michael Penix. They waited, and then they were left with nobody. And then they went into the season with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback, and that was doomed from the get-go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I tried to talk myself into it because I liked the guy. We do that all with we do that with everyone, don't we? With every athlete who comes across as like a nice, easygoing, sort of down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth athlete. I mean, how could you not like a guy who basically lives in a van in the off season and just travels around camping? How could you not like that?
He's the Matt Foley of the NFL.
Living in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of doobie rolling.
When you're living in a van down by the river.
Yeah. But he's so likable. So I wanted him to be good, and I tried talking myself into it, but yeah, you could just tell it wasn't going to work with him and Getsy and Adams and all the rest.
Yeah, no. It was we knew the marriage was going to end in divorce pretty quickly on. Yeah, when he broke his collarbone, I mean, it was a bad end to his time with the Raiders. But yeah, no, 2 years in a row now where the Raiders starting quarterback of the season gets cut in the offseason. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We have a ton to get to tonight. When I sent Steven this morning what I wanted to discuss on the show, everything changed by this late afternoon as things started compiling and more news showed up. So let's get to it all right now. We mentioned Gardner Minshew has been released from the Las Vegas Raiders, so no surprise there. We all assumed that he was not going to be the starting quarterback going forward. The big news to come out today is Max Crosby's new contract. Yesterday, Max Crosby pretty much campaigned for Aaron Rodgers to be the new starting quarterback of the Raiders. And I don't think that Mark Davis should choose or pick, or I should say leave Max Crosby in charge with being GM anymore, because he demanded that Antonio Pierce be head coach of the Raiders, and he lasted one season. And even Max Crosby himself on his podcast basically was like, whatever happens, I will leave that in the organization's hand. So he was kind of cold off of Max Crosby, or of Antonio Pierce. And, we always hear every offseason about Max Crosby kind of waffling if he wants to be a Raider or not. Like, obviously, he wants to be a Raider, but he's just wondering if the team is as engaged in winning as he is. But regardless of all that, Max Crosby feels comfortable enough with Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham coming back as defensive coordinator. And Max Crosby signed a 3-year contract extension today that totals $106 million, 91 guaranteed. He's going to make $35 million a year. He is now your highest paid defensive player in all of football. He makes the most money non-quarterback wise. So, Steven, your thoughts on Max Crosby's contract?
They had to do it. And I'm glad they did. He's deserved every bit of that contract. You got to reward your players, man. And he's really been that quintessential first guy in, last guy out. Like, he's obsessed with working out and getting better for the football season. Obviously, he had, to be honest, I haven't looked like at the complete details of it, but I think he had his alcohol issues when he was younger, and he's coming back from that and just focused fully on football. Like, this is the type of guy you want to pay. And if whatever the contract they gave him that you just mentioned, if they got to pay him what exceeded Nick Bosa's amount, and they got to pay him what, 30, what was it on average again?
35 million a year.
35. I mean, if you got to do that, then so be it. Like, you got to set the market at some point. Be the first ones to do that, because Micah Parsons is going to get a huge contract. You don't want to wait around. So set the market there. You have the money, you have the cap space, and give the Raiders some hope, because they don't really have much of it right now. And if they didn't keep Max Crosby, let's just say they did trade him somewhere else, I don't know, like the 49ers, then I think that would have been just an embarrassment for the organization. And if you think that, if you think Allegiant Stadium is like the home stadium for the road team already, imagine what it would have looked like if the one guy who's like been a holdover from those Oakland days ended up leaving. Like, that would be disastrous, dude.
I've said this before. I know you threw out the Niners as a hypothetical. I don't think there's ever a chance where the Niners or Raiders do business again.
Hang on. I didn't throw them out as a hypothetical, Derek. I said there were fans, and our guy, I'm going to call him my guy. I've never met him, but I've talked to him a couple of times, swapped messages with him, DM'd him. He's a great guy. Brad. He had the whole idea of involving Deebo Samuel and I think like a couple of first-round picks. It looked nice.
We could say our guy. We'll actually get him on the pod. I know Brad too. Good dude.
Yeah, he is. And but I'm like, I mean, you could make a graphic all you want, man, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be going for that sort of deal. No. So they needed to do it. Do you think, though, this is just, I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating. This might be just a coincidence. But there's, I don't know what the song's called, but the song that Crosby used to announce his return to the Raiders, he used it in his little highlight package, and I don't know the actual words, but like the melody is like right. There's that.
Yeah,
it's that song. It's that song.
I'll take your word for it that's what it sounded like.
Very accurate. There was a remix for the 49ers to that song that became really popular by a guy named Travis King, who actually, I think, went to the same high school as I did, and he was my brother's age, which is wild.
So he's older than you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And his brother is his brother. I was his brother's camp counselor in science camp when his brother was in 6th grade, and I was like a senior in high school. Now that guy's trying to be a pro golfer. So shout out to Mikey. But yeah, I wonder if that was like not a shot, but maybe just like a little, I don't know, maybe a little shade that he's not going to the 49ers because everyone thought he was after he tweeted that he loved the Bay Area during All-Star Weekend.
I
doubt it.
I'll let you read into that one.
I doubt it, but it's just, I was like, interesting song choice. Max?
Yes. As far as the contract, I remember the last contract that Max Crosby signed. I believe it was during the 2022 offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people thought like Max Crosby settled for a little bit of money. He could have got a lot more. Like I remember Haberman and Middlecoff talking about on their podcast where the Raiders basically, fleeced Max Crosby. I forget what the contract was. But now
he was $21 million a year. I know that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, at the time he was coming off, I think, an all-pro season or second team all-pro season. So yeah, he makes more money than Nick Bosa now, which I wonder how Nick Bosa feels because I'll never forget. And I don't know if my dad was just playing this up for the hell of it, but after that 2021 season, Nick Bosa had 15 sacks. I want to say Max Crosby had 8. Nick Bosa did not make, I don't think, the all-pro team at all. He wasn't first team. He was second team. Max Crosby made second team all-pro, and supposedly my father claims that Nick Bosa was so put off that Max Crosby got that over him, specifically Max Crosby. And I don't know if there's a beef between the two guys. I don't think there is. But when he brought that up, I was like, does Nick Bosa not think that Max Crosby's that good of a player? I think since the time that Nick Bosa signed his contract extension, when he was, the reigning defensive player of the year, and you said this a long time ago, Steven, I will give you kudos. There was a time where I was like, I don't know if Max Crosby's that good of a player. And you were saying like he's a better pass rusher than Khalil Mack. And I was hesitant to say that. I will say it now. Yes, he definitely gets to the quarterback more consistently than that of Khalil Mack. Do I think Khalil Mack was a better player? Yes. I think just the combination of him getting sacked, stopping the run, like forcing fumbles. Like I told Copes today, like I think Max Crosby and Nick Bosa are great pass rushers. Would I rather have younger versions of Von Miller and Khalil Mack? Yes, I would, because those guys not only get sacks, they get forced fumbles, and those guys, they strip the quarterback every now and then, but it's not consistent enough. But yes, as far as like a pure sack artist, Max Crosby's one of the best of football. He was a diamond in the rough. Like the Raiders got him in the 5th round? Was that it?
4th, yeah.
4th round. Best draft pick that Mike Mayock made. So yeah, when you hear everything about, are the Raiders all about winning? I mean, he was there the day that Pete Carroll was introduced. So he seemed engaged. He seemed ready to go, take the next step with the organization. I'm sure he was happy that Patrick Graham was coming back. But, now that he signed the contract, I just don't want to hear anymore. I don't know about, like I love the Raiders, but I want them to be all in. Like, I don't think this stops that. But if you sign a contract with a team, I think it should. But then again, Myles Garrett, signed his contract with the Browns and now he wants out. So I would hope that Max Crosby, I hope, well, first and foremost, I hope the Raiders start winning. That makes Max Crosby happy. But at the same time, I hope that now that Max Crosby has signed this contract, that he's willing to go forward with the Raiders, whatever may happen. And I know that's easier said than done with players because most of them view like just get the bag and then figure it out later. But when you sign a contract with a team, I think it's harder than to demand a trade request. So yeah, I hope that Max Crosby's like 100% in on being a Las Vegas Raider going forward.
I think he is. And who better to be that kind of guy that can create a culture like that than Pete Carroll? Look, you can say you'd rather have Von Miller or Khalil Mack. Fine, that's your preference. But
you don't have to say it with such disdain.
Well, you say it with disdain, Derek.
I didn't say anything with disdain.
Yes, you did.
Stop that.
But what all of those guys have in common is that they are game wreckers. They are the one player that the defense has to focus on. That Miami Dolphins Hard Knocks where Mike McDaniel's like, look, I don't care who you get to on defense, just stop that guy. Stop number 98. And there's nothing that they could do to stop him. But I think that look, am I going to say with 100% certainty that he's never going to request a trade and he's always going to be happy through this contract? I can't say that because you never know. I'd like to think that Pete Carroll can create something to give him just a little bit of conviction about his decision, but I can't say with 100% certainty that's going to happen because it's the NFL and you never know.
Right.
All I know is that they got him under contract when they needed to, when they didn't have any guaranteed money left. And it's a solid move by John Spytek. It could be worse. I was actually just looking through Khalil Mack's numbers, Derek, and I mean, God, John Gruden and Mark Davis, for that matter, traded him at just the worst time.
Yeah. At
the worst time. I don't know if he was like sticking it to the Raiders, but I know the sack numbers weren't there, but just look at everything else. I mean, the 2017 season was all time, but he had 12.5 sacks, then 6 forced fumbles in 2018, 8.5 the following year, 9 the following year, while also causing forced fumbles.
Yeah.
Not to mention the run stuffs. Those stuff numbers are just insane, dude. God, the 2014, 2015, 25 total in 2 seasons. That's unbelievable.
Can I be real? Like, I know that people kind of go back and forth on Khalil Mack, and he'll be a free agent, and we'll see where he goes. I've never seen a player do the things that he's done. Like, I will give Max Crosby his kudos, but just a physical specimen that Khalil Mack is, the way that he's able to pick off interceptions and run it back for touchdowns, his ability to force fumbles, his ability to forklift a offensive lineman on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with just one bicep.
Right.
You think I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but fuck it, whatever. I think that Khalil Mack is the closest thing I've seen in my lifetime to Lawrence Taylor. I think that's how dominant he was. Just how of a physical freak. Like, I know Lawrence Taylor got more sacks in his career, but I think that Khalil Mack was that crazy of an athlete as a pass rusher. So,
well, we'd also be looking at him in a different light if he actually was on a good team.
Yes.
Or a team that won playoff games. He still hasn't won one. Whereas
it's true, actually.
Whereas Lawrence Taylor, Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. And Lawrence Taylor was living in an era where he was just like, no one could stop him. No offensive lineman could ever stop him.
Yeah.
He was getting like 4 or 5 sacks a game sometimes, and he was MVP of the league as a defensive player. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
So just as like a physical freak, that's how I compare Khalil Mack to Lawrence Taylor, even though Khalil Mack wasn't doing the nose candy as much as Lawrence Taylor was.
But the thing with
don't do drugs, kids.
Don't smoke crack.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
With Crosby, though, the one thing that he has that Mac didn't have, and I don't know how much of a real advantage this is to have as a defensive lineman, but Crosby has such a motor about him. It's like Mac, there were times where he can get into lulls. Like, he would make big plays, like impact plays.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times where he was kind of, I don't want to say invisible, but you wouldn't really see him making like just these little plays here and there. Sometimes he'd just get straight up blocked. And that happens with Crosby too. But Crosby's going sideline to sideline like at all times. And I think that's what I like about him so much. It's not just his pass rush moves, his spin moves only getting better and better. Oh, good Lord, why am I blanking on his name right now? Why am I blanking on a Hall of Famer Colt spin move?
Dwight Freeney. Dwight
Freeney, thank you. He's got that spin move he's kind of down with that spin move. He's getting his bull rush working. I mean, he's using his hands like he's trying to train with boxing and all that, like to get his hands right. He has a variety of moves, but to me, it's the engine. It's doing these random things. I love it. And you didn't really see this with Mac because for whatever reason, like defense edge rusher just hasn't evolved into this, but you see it with Myles Garrett too, when they're just lining up basically as a middle linebacker, but they're in the A gap instead of around the edge. And they just do this thing. Myles Garrett started it and Crosby just kind of went along with it, but they do the crossover, little crossover, and somehow get to the quarterback. I don't know. Like Crosby, like Khalil Mack was an absolute just beast, but there's something about Crosby that I enjoy watching more. I don't know what it is exactly. It's just that he's a madman, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he got to the quarterback more consistently. But yeah, like, it makes sense. I understand why the Raiders wanted to do this, and I understand why, I mean, Pete Carroll needs leaders on this defense, and like he pointed at him in the press conference, like, I'm looking at you, Max. So yeah, I have no issues with the deal, and now this is going to start a domino effect where, yeah, like Micah Parsons will, want his deal to surpass that of Max Crosby. Like, is he going to want $36 million a year, 37, 38? We'll see. But yeah, now every elite pass rusher in football is going to want this type of deal. And that leads us to what just happened a couple of minutes ago. Because this is the time of year where teams are shedding salary, cap space casualties. So this was on the horizon, but now it's official. The Chargers just announced that they have released Joey Bosa, and makes sense. Joey Bosa got a huge contract. God, what was it? Back in 2020 or 2021, whatever it was. I think it was 2020 actually. Was one of the highest paid defensive players in all of football. He was dominant when he came in the league. Won Defensive Rookie of the Year.
2020 is when he got the contract. It was
5
years, $135 million, 27 on average.
Okay. And yeah, he always caused problems with the Raiders. Always sacked Derek Carr. Always talked shit about Derek Carr.
Yes, he did.
And he had a
I don't want to talk shit about your boy, dude.
Yeah. And
Remember that in the Hot Ones?
Was it was it him and Khalil Mack?
It was him and Mack, and like he asked who's the easiest quarterback to get to the ground, and he's, I don't want to diss your boy, dude.
I do remember that. But Bosa had a good career with the Chargers. Was teamed up with Khalil Mack, and always it was just injuries. Injuries got in the way. And they couldn't justify him making that money anymore with how little he was playing. And like last year, they asked him to take a pay cut. He was willing to do that. There was a point where the Chargers there was a whole, rumors were flying that maybe they were going to cut him along with Khalil Mack. So now I wonder if the Chargers will try to sign back Khalil Mack, because they may need him now with how little pass rushers they have right now. But yeah, Joey Bosa is released, and I think everybody in sports talk radio, Bay Area sports talk radio, we'll talk about this tomorrow. I think Niners beat writers are probably doing their own live podcast right now. You best believe that everyone's going to talk about Joey Bosa to the 49ers now.
Sure. And my initial take on it is, of course, like why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want the Bosa brothers on the same team?
That's a whole lot of Trump dancing.
What's that?
It's a whole lot of Trump dancing.
Whole lot of that. Yeah, a whole lot of that. The only reason I don't think it would happen, or it's unlikely that it would happen, is because Lynch, it appears, wants to get younger, and it seems like they're almost like saving money this year as opposed to actually spending it. I think they could take a chance on him, but it would kind of go against what I think John Lynch wants. Like, I think that clip when he was speaking about Brandon Ayuk was maybe the most telling out of the combine, when, he first half of it, I think it was also very telling that he didn't like do his whole thing where he's like, oh, we love BA. We think BA is a great fit here. We want him to be a 49er for a long time. Of course you're taking calls. No, he scratched that entire first part out. He just said, of course you're taking calls on good players. That's, you're always doing that. But then he also says we're restructuring. We're trying to get younger. We're trying to save a little bit of money. We're looking to the future. I don't know if Joey Bosa fits that, but I'd say why not take a chance, man? like why not? It's what's the worst that could happen besides a hit against the salary cap?
Yeah, but there's a lot of talk lately about like the Niners need to fit cap space in so they can sign Brock Purdy. I'm not buying that, really. Like, I know that Diana Rossini's talking about that, and Adam Schefter, like every day he's on McAfee or his own podcast saying, oh, the Niners, they gotta move some salary around. They gotta cut some guys off the roster. They gotta make room for Brock Purdy's contract. So Talanoa Hufanga won't be back, and Trey Greenlaw won't be back, and that may be the case. But the way that I see it, they have $51 million in cap space. I believe the dead cap of Deebo Samuel's contract has already been accounted for. They can backload Brock Purdy's contract. They don't have to make it front loaded where it impacts them this salary cap. So yeah, I would say everybody calm down about that. This is all just hearsay at the moment. Let's see what they actually do. If they start trading guys away more than just Deebo Samuel, if they trade away George Kittle, then yeah, okay, well, they're going a different direction here. Like, I would also tell fans, I think they expect it too. They asked him to take a pay cut last year. He took it. He wasn't happy about it. This time around, I'm sure he's not going to be happy about it and wants off the team. I would probably say this is probably the end of Kyle Juszczyk. I think that they may cut him. The Brandon Ayuk stuff, I don't really know what the hell's going on there, because if a team is dumb enough to trade for Brandon Ayuk right now, then by all means, like if you're the Niners, you're like, you want a third-round pick for Brandon Ayuk, and you're willing to do that, a player that signed a contract that's going to hit your salary cap and has a torn ACL. Like, if our team's just trying to fleece the Niners and say, we'll offer you a 7th-round pick for Brandon Ayuk, fuck out of here. I'm not doing that.
2 ligaments, too.
Yeah, so I don't understand that whole thing. And we'll see about Dre Greenlaw. Like, that may be the case. But also, I'm wondering, like, what do they think for a whole year? Like, they knew they were going to have to pay Purdy. And we'll talk about the initial contract offer that was given to Purdy. We'll see if that's actually true. But, yeah, like, I think the Niners are going to spend this offseason. They want to get younger. So maybe this is counterintuitive to go after Joey Bosa. But I think they'll go after guys like DJ Jones. I would anticipate that. That's a guy that was there with Robert Saleh before in that defense. But, yeah, I think that as far as Joey Bosa, we've heard that rumor for a long time now, and Bosa's mom wants that to happen. She always is tweeting out photos of that on social media.
Right.
I don't know how that would go. Like, two brothers on the same defensive line. I don't think I've ever seen that before. To be perfectly honest, I wonder if Joey Bosa, he played in California for a long time, but does he want to pay the state income tax? Is there another team that's, doesn't do that he'd be willing to go play for? Does he like playing in California? Does he like California? Right. We're talking about two guys from Florida that like Florida. Yeah, and I wonder if the Niners would be down for that. Now, every Niner beat writer that just saw this news, like I saw David Lombardi just say, for everybody asking me about Joey Bosa, the answer is yes. So I'm assuming that I think the Niners were actually trying to get him last year, and things just didn't work out with, the Chargers hanging on to him. So there was all the rumors about that. I think Diana Rossini said the Niners would definitely be on Joey Bosa a year ago. I wonder if they would be on him now. They're definitely on Jonathan Allen because that was part of the trade negotiations with Deebo Samuel. So I think they're trying to improve the defensive line through free agency, maybe more pass rusher and maybe more defensive tackle. They still got to release Javon Hargrave at the first day of the new league year.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about what's his name, Dolman, the Falcons center has been attached to the Niners. So yeah, I think that we'll hear about it. There'll be a conversation all day tomorrow on Sports Talk Radio, whether it's KNBR or 95.7. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, but also it just seems too good to be true at the same time. You know what I mean? Like two Bosas playing together.
Well, it also depends what they're going to do with the other two defensive linemen. They didn't swing big, but they still paid, $20 million total for Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos, and they still haven't officially cut those guys yet. They both have these outs in their contract, but that would also add more to the dead cap hit that they're already going to take for 2025, that they're already taking this offseason. So they'd have to do some moving around. I don't know. Do you think that if you're looking at those two guys, do you think it's like they have to release those two in order to sign him? Like, is that what we're looking at, or can they just keep those two around and also sign Bosa? Look, at the end of the day, classic cliche. Yeah. Shout out Debo. At the end of the day, Derek, is this really what's going to put them over the top? Like, it's fun, and Joey Bosa is really good when he's healthy, but you do run the risk of injury. And I think their big problem last year, and the reason why I had some reservations about Leonard Floyd and this Gross-Matos being a good signing is like you sign guys who are solid third down defensive ends, but are they every down defensive ends where you can have two guys on the edge just getting to the quarterback? And I don't know if Joey Bosa exactly solves that problem. Like, it'd be great, and he's a terrific player, again, when he's healthy, but
yeah,
he's only had 2 fully healthy seasons. Like, is it worth it to take a chance? I don't know. It's a tough question to answer, and I really don't know the answer to it.
I think that I would do it just to get a veteran pass rusher. And to answer your question, I think that they would probably move off of Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yeah.
Leonard Floyd has 1 more year left on his contract.
Well, they both do, but they have outs after they have outs this year, so they can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like if they like those players enough, or if it's really up to Robert Saleh if he thinks that they fit his scheme. I think though, yeah, I would sign Joey Bosa if it means that that's not the end all be all. You probably need to draft a younger player. Like, but if it's good to get like a veteran opposite Nick Bosa, and it's your brother, like, like, are we just going to do this to make Nick Bosa happy? Like the same thing with Chase Young. Like Chase Young made sense at the time. It was his former teammate at Ohio State, but he didn't pan out as a good pass rusher. So I would say, yeah, if you want to do that, but Joey Bosa has to sign for cheap amount of money. He's not the same player he used to be. So it would have to be reasonable, like a prove-it 1-year deal, like the same deal that I think that Dre Greenlaw should sign. But the more and more I'm reading into it, like what Matt Barrows told me and Copes weeks ago, that Dre Greenlaw wants to run his own shop. That may be the case, man. And
of course,
if the Niners are trying to be cautious with the medical and everything, then he's signing him a 1-year deal. It sounds like other teams are willing to give him a multi-year deal. So it's very likely that they lose Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga and Charvarius Ward.
If the 49er fans understand that Dre Greenlaw has been underappreciated, how do you think Greenlaw feels? And the harsh reality of it, and it's not Greenlaw's fault, and it's not this player's fault either, but being kind of overshadowed by Fred Warner, who's one of the best in the game, that absolutely plays a role in the underappreciation for number 57. That, and also getting hurt in the Super Bowl and not playing for a majority of last year. It's so easy just to forget about a player like that, just because he's the number 2. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man. Azeez Al-Shaair was the 3rd linebacker on that team, and now he's a number 1. I think Dre Greenlaw's looking at that thinking, dude, I could go to Tennessee. Well, not Tennessee anymore because Rand Carthon's not there, but
just another team to lead that defense.
Or I can shoot. Me and Azeez can be 1A, 1B in Houston, and that team's a playoff team potentially.
Yeah, but the Texans have a good linebacker core right now, man. They got that young guy, I forget his name. They got players right now, but they could add. You could always have depth, and you could always have Dre Greenlaw there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think D'Amico would love to have Dre Greenlaw. That's the thing, are they going to prioritize signing back their guys? Like, I think at this point, like when Schefter says like they're not going to sign back Talanoa Hufanga, yeah, I think we've known that for quite some time now, where, he's just been injury prone, and Malik Mustafa played fairly well this year. Jair Brown is still figuring things out, but that's your safety tandem. Charvarius Ward, we've heard for quite some time that he probably wants to be closer to his family, and that makes sense with what he went through this season. So, yeah, if Dre Greenlaw, like if that's the price of doing business with giving Brock Purdy a new deal, and you're looking at ways to improve the defense all the way around, you need, pass rushers, defensive tackles, linebackers. Like right now, their linebacking core is just Fred Warner and a bunch of guys. I couldn't tell you who the hell they are besides D. Winters.
Is Demetrius Flanagan Fowles still there, Derek?
He got released.
He got released. Damn it.
Yeah. So it depends on what their priorities are. Do they want to add in free agency, or they just want to, try to make things stay afloat with giving Brock Purdy his contract? I don't know how it's going to go out. Like the way it's going to go. Like I can't believe that the right now, I guess the narrative has been that the Niners need to shed salary, and I didn't think they needed that so heavily this offseason. I thought maybe next year, because with the cap space they have, and I thought it would be like little by little. I didn't think it'd be like all.
Does dead cap not mean anything though? Like that's what confuses me. I thought their dead cap was a pretty big deal.
I mean, it's $33 million.
Well, it's $60+ million actually. If you look at Spotrac,
$60+ million in what way?
I don't know, but it's 66. Yeah, they are first in the league in dead cap money right now. 66 million.
With Debo, there's got to be something else there. Probably Hargrave.
Take a look. See that? First in dead cap ranked.
See, the question that I have though is when does that take into account? Like the way that Matt Mayoko said it to us was that money has already been accounted for.
Right.
So, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
The salary cap shit, man. I think I know this stuff fairly well, and then I don't.
Yeah. Like the last time I looked, they had over 20 million available. Like the reason I was looking is because I know we're going to get to this guy too. is because of Davante Adams and where he's at right now. And I was looking at the Packers compared to the 49ers. I think the 49ers have are 22nd, I think, in the league with cap space in this year. And the Packers are like 14th or something.
Yeah. So I don't know. I saw some people in the chat tonight talk about it, like just been injury prone. What do you guys think? You want Joey Bosa on the Niners? I go either way, honestly. I think that he would help a little bit, but not for the long haul. It'd just be a nice story, like, be like the Rodgers brothers with the Giants. It's a little different than that. But yeah, to have Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa on the same team together, be interesting, but I don't think that cures your pass rush issues.
He played 14 games last year, and then he played 14 games total between 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, the injuries. I mean, Nick's getting injury prone too now.
Right.
So
do they want to risk that? Because last year it was all about injuries. Everyone was saying the reason that even Peyton Manning said, well, the reason Brock Purdy struggled last year was just because he didn't have his team fully healthy. Like, do they really want to go and risk that just because it'd be a fun story to have the Bosa Bros?
I don't think the Niners are in the business of what's a good story. I think they just want to have a good football team.
Right.
And
I think a lot of people just love the name, but it's been talked about for so long, Derek.
It has, but you got to look at what else is there pass rusher wise. Like, I know I brought this up in the past, and I would hate to see this, but would you rather have Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa?
Oh, you'd rather have Khalil Mack all day.
Of course you would. Now, how much are you willing to pay for Khalil Mack? I think the Chargers now are probably going to up their offer. And if I had to guess, I think that with the Eagles signing Zach Bond today, we'll get to that contract a little bit here. I doubt that the rumor is that they're holding their money for Myles Garrett, but eventually, they got to pay Jalen Carter. They got to play Jordan Davis. I can't see them. The draft capital you'd have to move, and then making Myles Garrett the highest paid defensive player in all of football, that's going to get pretty pricey. Unless just Myles Garrett is content playing on his current contract, but that ends in 2 years. So I think that they let Josh Sweat go. They let Milton Williams go. And Vic Fangio teams up with Khalil Mack again, that we knew in Chicago. I could see that. And then I think that's honestly an upgrade. I think Josh Sweat had an amazing Super Bowl, but you'd rather have Khalil Mack.
Right. All day.
So, yeah, everybody in the chat rather have Khalil Mack. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, John Lynch was close to trading for him. Remember that? That was the Niners had a better offer than the Bears did. And the Raiders, as I've said before, guys, the Raiders will never do a deal with the Niners. They just don't want to do that.
Not one that big, at least.
Yes, exactly.
Davante Adams, though, Derek?
Well, yeah, that's another one. Okay, so Davante Adams got released yesterday, and we knew that was coming. Like, we were on live when the alert came out that the Jets are trying to shop him. And with that cap hit, he was, $38 million?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
So they had to cut him. And he could sign instantly right now with any team that wants to sign him. I would assume if Aaron Rodgers keeps playing, then he'll follow him wherever he goes. Because that's just the way it is. And at this point, I think that Aaron Rodgers would either sign with the teams that make sense, Steelers or Colts. Those are my two teams. Besides that, nothing makes sense. I don't think that he makes sense on the Raiders. I know that Max Crosby wants him, but why would Aaron Rodgers want to do that?
I think it's just automatic that he's following Rodgers wherever he goes.
If he keeps playing, but here's my thing. I don't think that Rodgers is playing football anymore. I think he's going to retire. I think he's going to see his options, and the team that wants him the most is the Giants. I think that he'll probably try to, maneuver his way to Pittsburgh or Indianapolis, and they'll tell him no. And that's when it sets in like, wow, the league is telling me to retire, which is a hard feeling. Like Peyton Manning, the year that he won the Super Bowl, he didn't retire right on the spot. Like, it took, remember when they won the Super Bowl and John Elway was like, we want to thank Peyton for everything that he did, and we appreciate him for his time. And then, they asked Peyton on the board. I know, I switch it up. I know.
Yeah.
And then they asked him, and he was like, I'm not making a decision right now. They kind of pushed him out. So that's kind of how it feels right now with Aaron Rodgers. So I would tell 49er fans, you better hope that Aaron Rodgers retires because the chances of him signing with the Niners go way up if Aaron Rodgers retires. I think
I
that
don't think
right
Adams is
now,
going to follow. I don't think he's going to follow Rodgers like you think, man.
you don't think so?
No. I think Adams realized he made a mistake and that Rodgers was holding him back last year. We all saw it. Adams has to see it too. Adams isn't stupid. He's got to know that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same juice that he used to have. And he still totaled over 1,000 yards receiving and had 8 touchdowns with both the Raiders and Jets last year. Like he's got gas left in the tank. I think he knows Rodgers doesn't. I think Adams is going to venture off on his own on this one. Now, I don't know where he's going to go. I do think the Niners need to be in on it. Obviously, there's the financial stuff again, and we can debate back and forth that stuff all day. Maybe they do need to get the quarterback situated before they sign anyone else, because just signing another player like that is going to make it a lot harder with the Brock Purdy stuff. But I think Adams is likely to do what he wanted to do with the Raiders. Number one, he was playing with his old buddy Derek. But number two, not you, Derek Carr.
Yeah, I figured.
You got that? You gathered that? Okay.
I surmised that you weren't talking about me.
Derek, as long as we're on the same page.
Okay.
Cool. But number two is he wanted to be closer to family. And as far as I know, last thing I remember is he helped his I think he got his grandma, who still lives in East Palo Alto. He helped helped her home get one of those home makeovers, not like the extreme home makeover where it's like, move that bus, but the just a solid makeover on the home. Okay. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Okay.
But his family, I think, still lives in the Bay Area. And I mean, you're in the EPA, man. You're super close to Santa Clara. I would think that the Niners would be a destination if he wants to do that. But I think the question is, does he want to play for the Niners with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan? Does he want to go back to Green Bay? Green Bay landed as the top destination, at least from DraftKings, just because of his relationship with the Packers. Would he want to go to the Pack to play with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, or would he want to go to the Chargers because the Chargers are favored as well, and he would stay on the West Coast? Would he want to play with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I think going back to the Packers makes the most sense, honestly. Because they lost Christian Watson for all the season. He tore his ACL the last game of the year, and they need a veteran wide receiver presence. What's that?
Who was the one running back who just crapped all over his wide receivers and said, we don't have a true number one?
Yep.
And who's that running back who's a former
teammate?
I wonder who that is.
I can see Josh Jacobs trying to recruit Davante Adams to come back, and it's easy transition for Davante Adams because he knows the offense with Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect spot for him, honestly. I think to go back to Green Bay. And we talk about that wide receiving core of Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed, Christian Watson when he's healthy, Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks. But they're really young and inexperienced. And we saw it this year, when they're good, they're really good. When they're not good, Jordan Love is lost.
Yeah.
I think after a while, Matt LaFleur stopped trusting the wide receivers. I stopped trusting Jaden Reed. He fucked me over in that championship game where I decided to start him over, who was it? Devontae Smith. Now I still won, but I was sweating it. Regardless,
you're not allowed to complain about that, Derek. I had Jaden Reed too, and he lost me some games. You're not allowed to complain if you still won.
Fine. But in the end of the day, they became more of a running team. And I think that they want to open up the passing game more, and Davante Adams would help with that. So I think that he works in Green Bay. That would be, if I was Davante, that'd be my number one destination. Niners make sense too. You make an upgrade on Debo. Right now, there's not a true number one wide receiver. We could say Juwan Jennings is the number one receiver, but Brandon Ayuk's not going to be healthy for a good deal of the season. I would say he's probably going to be on PUP, so he's gone for the first 6 weeks. We'll see if Juwan Jennings can be consistently that number one guy, but you probably want to get a true wide receiver there. That's what they were missing with Debo. So yeah, Davante makes sense. It's just a matter of how much they're willing to pay him. I think the Chargers make a ton of sense. I think that it's a matter of, does does Kyle Shanahan value paying wide receivers more than Jim Harbaugh? And I would say yes. But Jim can't totally ignore the fact that Justin Herbert needs a wide receiver. He definitely does. Like, it can't just be Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey. They need a true veteran that can help Justin Herbert. That was apparent in that playoff game where he threw 4 interceptions. So, yeah, I can see Chargers make sense. Niners make sense. Green Bay makes sense. You know who else makes sense?
Who?
Kansas City. Which would suck. And ironic. Would Davante Adams have to apologize to the guy that he pushed in Kansas City?
Oh, yeah, to the cameraman.
I don't know if the guy lives in Kansas City. He might just be like a Monday Night Football guy, but he might have been a local Kansas City guy, actually. Now that I think about it.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Poor guy, just right in the middle of the crossfire.
Yeah, Davante was having a rough night.
Yeah, he was. Ugh.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. I'm going to go back to this, Derek, but I still love Davante. like at the end of the day, man.
How could you not? He's a great player. It's just every week he went on Kay Adams would piss you off, be like, dude, stop this. It's not a better situation. Stop this.
He made some very questionable decisions as far as just his career is concerned, sure. But God, when you watch him, like he's one of those wide receivers that's kind of a rare breed. I don't know if it's like a lost art nowadays, Derek, but I don't know, I guess Justin Jefferson is that guy. Jamar Chase too, to an extent, but just as far as like pure route runners, I don't know, man. Like maybe it's the Raiders bias in me, but Davante Adams and Amari Cooper, just as far as their head twitching, the moves that when they're one-on-one, when the cornerbacks are in press man and they're able to get by their guy, like it's hard to imagine there's anyone much better than that. Like Justin Jefferson's damn good at getting open, and Jamar Chase is just sneaky strong when it comes to getting the ball in his hands and getting yards after the catch. But as far as just making guys miss and putting the cornerbacks on skates, God, no one does it better than Davante.
Yeah.
The 49ers would be lucky to have him. Any team would be. Boy, if he goes to the Chiefs, that would be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it would be. Didn't Chad Johnson describe his route running as pornography?
He made Chad Johnson cry, Derek.
Yeah. But am I right there with
you are right?
That he got horny for his routes?
You are correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chad Johnson, very interesting guy. Love that guy.
He divulges a lot these days, huh?
Yeah, he does.
Told Stephen A. Smith he needed to get some more inches on his pee-pee.
There's that. There's the just being very public about his therapist, how his therapist stopped doing sessions with him because he couldn't stop swearing in unnecessary situations. It's just bizarre.
Didn't he go on First Take recently and said like it's hard to please one thing, like it's hard to please two things, and he said one thing and then women, and I was like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, for like a long time, like a long-term marriage.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey Chad, how you doing?
Well, do you remember?
He made Chad Johnson cry. Actually, Derek, funny you mentioned that. I wrote about all of this in our blog.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what it's called. Just your blog, man.
Just your Bay Area opinion blog, man. Something like that.
Yeah, it's like at baybridgesports.com. I'll post a link to it, but I posted one about the 49ers. I'll get one with the Raiders coming up soon here. But to be honest, I'm kind of having fun with it. So if you want to follow along with the blog, feel free. I wrote about
I need to write something.
Yeah, it's fun. Just it takes a little while, but I share the links, Derek. I do the thing where I like write out the stuff and I share the links. It's got reports. It's got little italics,
Gotta have those italics, man.
Bold letters. It's got parentheses. It's got it all.
Ooh.
Hello.
Full on writer here.
Check it out.
Yeah, I may have to make my first article about how I'm going from A's fandom to covering the Giants and how difficult this is going to be.
Wow.
Every day, Copes. So when are you going to be a Giants fan? It's like, dude, shut up. Shut up.
You're going to be like my mom.
And don't you start that shit. And nobody in the chat start that shit either.
You're going to be like my mom. He's like, I'm never going to the dark side.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I could be the one guy at KMBR that's just not a fanboy. How about that? Take that.
Hey, man. Your boy Austin's doing work, by the way.
Oh, dude. Love myself some Austin Scott. The vibes are immaculate.
Vibes are immaculate. That is the most. How old is he? He's young, right?
He's about 22, 23.
Yeah, that's the most Gen Z thing I've ever seen.
It is.
The vibes desk.
Oh, dude,
I met him at the A's game though, I think, and he or was it a Giants game? I don't know, but he seemed
great kid.
Yeah, he seemed like well, quite frankly, he's putting out the vibes. Great vibes.
Oh yeah, no, and then Copes wanted to do it again on Monday, and I was like, "We do this every week with Austin." He was like, "Yeah, why not?" I was like, "All right." He wasn't like I was like he didn't go anywhere this weekend though. That's the problem. He's like, "Oh, we're just having for the vibes." So we went in and we started doing it. And it wasn't Austin's fault by any means. Like there just wasn't a lot there. So I was like, "All right, hey Austin, you seen Honora, right?" He goes, "Yeah, saw it a couple months ago." What were the vibes in that movie? He goes, "Oh, great vibes, man, great vibes." Me and my girl went to go see that on a Saturday night. So I was like, and then Copes, of course, was like, "Well, this might be in every other Monday type of thing." And I was like, "Yeah, got to play on these segments out, Copes, a little bit."
Yeah.
But yeah, Austin Scott, great with the vibes and great covering the Warriors and Giants for KMBR. All right, let's get to this report. Not really even a report.
23 or 22.
Man, we're working with some young kids, man.
Oh my god.
I mean, Greg Silver's like 26. Host of the show, My Pops.
That's crazy.
He's as old as my brother. I know. It's a dynamic, my friend.
I like this guy, man.
Oh, you're thinking about that?
Yeah. Anyway,
hey, John, we need you back. Mm-hmm. Look at this kid, man. Look at Greg Papa's son right now. Look at this kid. Love this kid. Beautiful face. It was acceptable. I kiss him on the cheek right now. All right. Jason Lockenfora.
What about him?
He used to be an insider for NFL Network. I remember him well. It was once Adam Schefter went to ESPN and they didn't have Ian Rappaport yet. He now hosts a radio show in Baltimore. And the other day, I think it was yesterday, he just nonchalantly tweets out, typical Niners, first offer to Brock Purdy is $45 million. Something along those lines. I'll actually get the right, the way he actually phrased it and everything. Yeah. But the people are running with that. I don't know if that's 100% true, but if that's the case, that Brock Purdy's first contract offer was $45 million, I'd say that's a little bit on the disrespectful side, especially when Dan Graziano does like his projections of what contracts will be this offseason. And he had Brock Purdy making $49 million. Not much better, but still a little bit more. If that's the case, that the Niners offered him $45 million, that's in the same ballpark as a Kirk Cousins, who I'm assuming is going to get released here in the next couple of days here, but we'll see. And Patrick Mahomes has a long-term deal, makes a lot of money for numerous seasons. But yeah, this is I could barely read this, Stephen. 49ers playing hardball with Purdy is very on brand. Starting your offers at $45 million a year is something. So if that's the case, yeah, I think that Purdy has a right to be a little bit perturbed.
I agree 100%. How would you feel if you're, I don't want to use work in this situation, but how would anyone feel if their boss made them a promise and said that they would get paid like the top of the line employees at their job? We'll pay you anything you want. And then a year later, you're not getting paid that. You are getting paid like the 12th best employee at your job, whatever you do. This is Clark Griswold not getting his Christmas bonus check so he could buy that new pool. You know what I mean?
Instead, the 49ers offered him Jelly of the Month Club.
Exactly. Like, this is like, what? $45 million? You know who gets paid $45 million besides Mahomes, Derek?
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
Kyler Murray, $1 million a year more than that. Did you say Kirk Cousins before?
I did.
I was looking for that Jason Lockenfora tweet.
No, you're all good. All good.
Because I knew where you're going there, so I was looking for the tweet. So I didn't listen. That's my bad. I'm trying to get better at that, Derek.
It's all good, Steven. No one listens to me anyway.
This is true. So what'd you say? 45 mil a year. It's disrespectful. It's borderline insulting, quite frankly, after this guy is meant to make 55 to 60. But the thing I don't get is I'm seeing a lot of this just with comments, replies. I remember that New Year's resolution I made a couple of years ago where I said I'm not going to look at the comments anymore. I've never followed that resolution. I've looked at more comments than I've ever looked at before, quite frankly.
Oh, God.
But I just don't get the thinking of the 49ers.
You hear that, chat? Steven respects all you guys. Can you believe that?
I don't get the thinking of the 49er fan base when all season long, whenever Brock Purdy has a bad game, it's always posting graphics about how much better Brock Purdy is than Jordan Love, how much better he is than Trevor Lawrence. When Justin Herbert lost in the playoffs, how much better Brock Purdy is than Justin Herbert. But then when you're talking about contracts, I think $50 million a year is the number. So you think that he's much better than these players, but he shouldn't get paid the same amount as him.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steven.
That just makes no sense to me. I don't get the line of thinking.
Remember how I was ostracized for saying that Jordan Love is better than Brock Purdy?
Right.
And then now I'm like, yeah, okay, let's pay Brock Purdy the same number as Jordan Love. People are like, whoa, slow your roll. Now, I think that this last season comes into effect for most fans, where they were all on Brock Purdy during the 2023 season and 2022. But now after the 2024 season, where he didn't have McCaffrey, didn't have Ayuk, had a bad Deebo Samuel, now people are like, I don't know if Brock's as good as we think he is. And I say, I hear you on that. That's a very valid argument. But at this point, you can't just take the contract away from somebody after Jed York told the world a year ago during the Super Bowl, we plan on paying this guy. We plan on making him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football. And now $45 million is far from that. And I heard Steve Young talk with Dan Patrick about how, Rich Eisen actually, how all the other contract disputes of Nick Bosa and Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, rubbed the organization the wrong way. So they don't want the same thing with Brock Purdy. I highly doubt, though, that Brock Purdy would do the same thing. Like, we're not going to get a training camp if this thing's not resolved. You don't do that with quarterbacks. So, yeah, I think they get this done. And I think that it will be less than probably what Brock Purdy deserves, honestly. I think that he probably deserves more than Dak Prescott for what he's done. He's taken this team to the NFC Championship game twice. And I know it was on a shortened season because Jimmy got hurt. But he's accomplished more in a short period of time as Niners quarterback than Dak Prescott has however long he's been Cowboys quarterback. Now, has Dak done it more, have had more longevity and I guess more consistency? I guess. But then again, like, he sucks in the playoffs, where Brock has done fairly well, except for the Super Bowl. So I would say, I don't know. I'm like, what's appropriate for him to get paid? Probably in the 50s. And that's like, but then again, like, I don't know. Like, I say this all the time. Does Tua deserve what he got? Does Trevor Lawrence deserve what he got? I don't know. It's just a QB market.
But that's the problem, though, is his agent, I think, could easily say, look, we're much better than we're better. I think my client's better than Jared Goff. I think my client's better than Trevor Lawrence. I think my client's better than Tua Tagovailoa. Like, you better give him more, or at least guarantee him more money. Forget whatever, the average amount is. Forget the average annual value. It's about guaranteed at the end of the day. Justin Herbert's nearly making half of it is nearly guaranteed for him. You got $113 million that's guaranteed for Goff. I mean, you got less than half that's guaranteed for Tua Tagovailoa. That's probably where you got to go if you're Brock Purdy's agent. They're like, look, dude, you don't have to pay us $53 million a year. But whatever our contract is, you're going to have to guarantee us at least 93, 94 million, at least 100 million if we're going to find any common ground. I think that's probably going to be where there's the biggest sticking point. And I'm not to say this isn't, it's not to say that this thing is going to drag into training camp. If I had to guess, and if you look at a lot of when those contract extensions were signed, a lot of them were signed in June, around June, mid-June, with the exception to like, I forgot who signed in September, but there was one that signed in September. But other than that,
are you talking about the old Niner contracts?
No, I'm talking about the quarterback contract.
Okay,
there was one that signed all the way. One signed all the way in September. I forgot which one, but
Dak.
That would, there you go. So that would be my guess, is that they would get this done probably in mid-June, just before training camp gets underway, or just at the start of training camp. But the fact that they're starting with 45 million, though, I mean, that's got to tell you something about where they're at with the salary cap, does it not?
Well, I don't know why it would be that way, because they've been planning on this thing for over a year now.
Right.
So maybe things change. Maybe they have reservations about him. I thought our old pal, former Raider Kirk Morrison, joined us today, and he made a really good point where he's like, "Do you think that Brock Purdy kind of peaked? Like, is this the best we're going to see of Brock Purdy? Is he going to get better? If that's the case, then should you, like, when you make these contracts, you're paying them on the potential that these players are going to be better. But also, I would say yes. At the same time, I think that they do these deals because that's just the market, and you rather have a quarterback than not have a quarterback. So do you think that the Dolphins could do better than Tua? Yes, but they have no other options. They're not going to be that bad where they have to where they're going to have the first overall pick. So you sign him because he's pretty good. Is he great? No. And I think that's the same thing with Brock Purdy. Now, with the Dolphins, though, we'll see what happens, because their salary cap situation's not great right now. And that's going to be maybe the downfall of the 49ers, and that's why their window closes. But then again, players get older, can't keep everybody for so long. Had a good run, I mean, from 2019 to now. Let's see if they can keep it going. But this team got by with not being a quarterback for so long and went through, Jimmy and Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. And eventually you have to pay the quarterback if you want to win. And now it's going to potentially bite them in the ass. So we'll see.
Right. I just, I wonder with the Brock Purdy stuff, I wonder if that's partially why they were shopping Brandon Ayuk, and Kyle Shanahan went up and stopped it last second without thinking of the repercussions here with Purdy.
I think that they can't give everybody a contract. So I think they were willing to pay Ayuk. I don't think they loved giving him $30 million a year. And I think that they had to think about Purdy the whole time they were making these negotiations.
Yeah.
So I believe Tim Kawakami when he says, the Niners have buyer's remorse on Brandon Ayuk.
Right.
So
dude, I wonder too, like, I wonder if Brock Purdy's agent would be calling other teams, seeing, look, man,
doing the Matt Stafford thing.
The Niners can't give us what we want. Like, we're trying to get 55 mil here, and they just can't do that. Like, can you get us anything like that over the next few years? I wonder if they're going to do that at all, or if the negotiations are purely going to be with the 49ers, Lynch, Murata, and company.
That would be amazing and shocking to me. It's different with Matthew Stafford. If the Niners allowed Brock Purdy to shop around to see what the league would give him, that's a dangerous game.
Yeah, it is.
And I bet you the Raiders would be willing to pay him $55 million a year.
Look, man, if there's any guy on the Raiders or on the Niners that the Raiders should be trying to go after, it's Jordan Mason.
How much you willing to give up, though?
I don't know, but fifth rounder for him, maybe. I'd be willing to give that up.
There's a lot of good running backs in this draft.
Yeah, sure. That's what they say.
That's how you got to play the game sometimes, though.
Yeah.
I don't believe. And who's to say Jordan Mason?
You know me, though. I don't believe draft analysis. Like,
I know
they think these guys are going to be good, but
yeah, I know. But
there's no guarantee. We always do this. Well, this is the most robust wide receiver class. This is the most robust tight end class that we've ever seen, just to draw up interest for the draft. And it's not true.
Can you wait at least like one more season where he's a restricted free agent right now. I doubt that teams are going to be going in on him. Do you think that they could just wait, and then when he's a free agent next year, that's when the Niners are not going to sign him back at that point?
Well, I mean, you saw the report from Matt Berry. He said the talk around the combine was that Jordan Mason could get shopped.
But you're not saving really money with that, though.
No, but you're opening a roster spot, and that way Kyle Shanahan can do his thing and draft a late round running back.
If that's the case, then and someone sees Jordan Mason as a lead back, then by all means, yeah, do the deal.
Right.
If the Raiders are willing to pay a 5th round pick for Jordan Mason, done.
Yeah, I'd do it.
So we'll see about that. There were trades the last 2 days here. Well, that's some offensive line trades, Steven.
Oh, man, this is fascinating stuff.
I just think it's interesting, though, like Ben Johnson, he wants to build that offensive line for the Bears, and that was definitely their weakest part of the team. So trading for Jonah Jackson from the Rams, and today, this shocked me. I know that Joe Thuney had a bad Super Bowl, but he was an all-pro at left guard. He just had to move to left tackle for the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, in order to keep Trey Smith, because they franchise tagged him, they traded Joe Thuney to the Bears. And I'm like, that's a fucking great move for the Bears. Good Lord. They probably still need to get a left tackle. If I were the Bears, I would go all in on signing Ronnie Stanley, in free agency. They still need a center. But, yeah, I think, like, Ben Johnson knows he's got to protect Caleb Williams. And I would tell you this. I know that you're thinking about Ashton Genty and number 6 for the Raiders. They need so much more than just a running back. I, right now, am going to guess that the Bears are all in on Ashton Genty to do like a 1-2 punch, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs thing with Ashton Genty and DeAndre Swift. I can see that.
Look, dude, you want to crap on my Ashton Genty to the Raiders thing?
I'm not crapping on it. A lot of people are bringing that one up. I just don't like it.
That's fine. But, I think you're joining the herd of those who don't think running backs should be taken that high. And I think Ashton Genty absolutely deserves to be taken that high. Sure, there's other needs that the Raiders have, but are there really sure things like Ashton Genty? I think he's going to be a beast in the league.
It's
like with Brock Purdy, Brock Bowers, rather. Everyone thought Brock Bowers was taken maybe a little. It's like, what? Why are the Raiders taking another tight end? They don't need to take another tight end. Well, look what happened.
Well, now they want to trade Michael Mayer, apparently.
Correct.
Yeah. Which I really haven't seen him play that much.
No, he hasn't played at all. Really, I don't know what they're going to get.
Do we ever know what happened to him last season?
No, it's still a mystery.
All right, personal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like when you're a team like the Raiders, you have so many needs, and it sounds like it's Shador. Although Shador, I guess, I don't know. We'll see what happens quarterback wise. I guess Shador's pissing people off in combine meetings because he's kind of blasé, like I don't need to be here.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. It felt like that's kind of that felt personal. That one, the thing you're talking about. So
the unnamed GM that like I don't know who they spoke to, but
I think it was a quarterback's coach who said he came off as brash and arrogant in the meetings.
Probably did.
Maybe. I mean, they do value those meetings more than the combine itself.
They do, but I was just talking to Copes on the show, and he was telling me a story about how Rob Gronkowski was on the Names with Games podcast with Julian Edelman, and he was just in his meeting with the Patriots. He just like lied on the floor and was like, "I'm tired of these interviews," and they drafted him. So I don't know. Yes, making a first impression is important, but I don't know. Shador, he has a right to be a little cocky. At the same time, you're not your dad.
Can't tell him that.
He's not, though. You're Shador. As much as I'm Derek Papa and my dad is Greg Papa, you are Shador Sanders. You are not Deion Sanders. Be your own man.
Good advice, Derek.
That's the way I would say it. And AJ Cruz, I said important. I hate this shit now. As far as other news, DK Metcalf demanded a trade. We heard about that one we heard there was like trade rumors, but like it came out the other day, like I don't know what was going on with that hypothetical trade to the Packers that would cost a first-round pick and another wide receiver. That seems too far-fetched to be legitimate. But now that DK Metcalf has let it be known that he wants out, now the Seattle Seahawks are willing to accommodate that.
Well, where do you think he's going to go?
Raiders make sense. Chargers make sense. Basically the same spots that Davante Adams could go to.
Yeah. Look, I don't know really where I stand on DK. I'm kind of like indifferent about him. I think he's an unbelievable athlete. He's massive, but it feels like at this point in his career, he should be far more dominant than he actually is. More often than not, you see him frustrated, pissed off on the sideline. Like in the build up to the Niners and Seahawks, I was trying to kind of pump up this whole rivalry with Metcalf and the 49ers because 49ers talked a bunch of shit. Diamador Lenore's still doing that, by the way, on Twitter. The 49ers were talking trash all about DK after that one fight. I think it was on the Thursday night game. I think I even missed it when I was in Italy at that time. I know I was in Italy for one of the 49ers Seahawks games. Can't remember if that was the one where they got into it with DK. But
I don't remember that as well.
Metcalf downplays everything, and he acts like nothing happened when clearly something happened on the field. Whether it's pent-up frustration, lashing out on the sideline. Like DK just kind of acts like nothing's wrong. He seems to be a very easygoing individual. But see, like this is where I'm kind of like confused with him, you know? Like I don't know, is that the type of player I think the Raiders need? Maybe. Is he like the pure number one that I think they need next to Jacoby Myers? I just don't know. Don't know.
And according to Josina Anderson, she's reporting that a team has offered the Seahawks a third-round pick for DK Metcalf, which seems way more reasonable and realistic than the report from the Green Bay Packers. We'll see if the Raiders trade for DK Metcalf. I don't know if that's what they need right now. They need a lot of things, and maybe it's best to just hang on to all that draft capital. I think that it's more realistic to believe that Tyler Lockett could be a Raiders wide receiver as he was released today. So right now, the only wide receiver in Seattle could be Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I think DK would probably go to a contender. It sounds nice. I mean, everyone's automatically saying that Pete Carroll is going to turn the Raiders into the Vegas Seahawks, and we'll see about, Russell Wilson and, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. We'll see if he's on the move, and I assume he will be. And then other news, Saquon Barkley is now the new highest paid running back in all of football. Gets a 2-year deal, $41 million. I think, he surpasses Christian McCaffrey. I think he deserves that contract, making 20.5 the next 2 seasons. Not for too long. It's only for 3 more seasons. But after you lead the league in rushing and rush for 2,000 yards and do what you do in the playoffs, you deserve a new contract.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, simple as that.
He should have gotten this. He should have gotten this contract earlier.
And then, it was interesting to see what was going on with Zach Bond, how much money he would get in the open market. I would assume he probably would have, maybe a team would have made him the highest paid linebacker in all of football to surpass Roquan Smith and Fred Warner. But instead, he settles for a 3-year deal that's worth $51 million. Now he gets $34 million guaranteed, which I believe is more than what Fred Warner got guaranteed. I think he gets 27.5. But he gets $51 million a year for 3 years, so that's 17. So still not the highest paid linebacker in football, but for how dominant he was this season, I think that he deserves that contract. Arguably, in my opinion, probably should have been Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-pro. Why wouldn't he be? I mean, except for Patrick Surtain was awesome. But again, a very well-deserved contract. Like this is the thing with the Eagles. Like the fact that, they've already paid Jalen Hurts and now Saquon. We knew that Saquon was going to be getting some form of an extension. Your offensive line, for the most part, besides Lane Johnson, is fairly young. It's hard to forget or hard to believe that Jordan Mailata is like 26, 27. So he's still got some good years left in him. Obviously, there's A.J. Brown and Davante Smith. That's where things are going to get interesting with the Eagles, I think, is when they have to, when push comes to shove with those two guys. What are you going to do with AJ or Davante? Do you trade one of them? Do you pay? Like, I don't know. I think that's going to be the big one that we're talking about with the Eagles in a while. But eventually they're going to have to pay their defensive players too. Zach Bond, the first one. Whew. I mean, I think wouldn't you have them as the favorites to represent the NFC as the early favorites right now?
I mean, we'll see. I anticipate them losing Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency, but you can replace those guys.
Oh yeah, that's not something that's gonna shift my entire view of what they're gonna look like next year. I still think
those guys played well in the Super Bowl.
Sure, yeah, but they still got Nolan Smith. Still got Jalen right. Carter.
They got a lot of depth on their defense. And Darius Slay cut, which I'm not surprised about. He's 34 years old. Makes sense. They want to go younger with Quinton Williams or Quinion Williams I'm fucking his name up altogether. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
And I think Darius Slay. I think he said like if he gets cut, he wants to finish his career with Detroit, which makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
And then lastly, T. Higgins gets tagged again. He's going to make $26 million if he stays on the tag. If they don't come to a long-term deal, the Bengals keep cutting guys. I saw the Raiders sign Alex Kappa, so that's their first free agent signing. They released Sam Hubbard today. The Bengals did. He's going to retire. This is all an attempt to sign Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, and I don't think they're able to do all three of those things.
Right.
The T. Higgins things suck because that's just, I mean, with the franchise tag, I like that teams can hang on to players. You don't have to lose them in free agency. But after the second time around, I'm like, okay, either you pay the guy or you don't. And that's what I didn't like with the Raiders. For years, Al Davis would always franchise tag Charles Woodson every single year. And then he just ran out of, after a while, I think there was a limit on how many times he could do it. Charles was able to leave in free agency, go to Green Bay. And, every year Washington did that with Kirk Cousins. So the Bengals will probably do this for the foreseeable future unless they get trade value for T. Higgins. But if I got to be honest, I think it's lame that, eventually, if you're the Bengals, just shit or get off the pot. Pay this guy or don't. But that's why the franchise tag is there.
Shit or get off the pot.
Yep.
Good Lord. Love that one. Like,
that's a phrase.
I know it is. I just love that you used it. Dude, the franchise tag is like, I hate it. I hate the franchise tag. It feels like just feels so one-sided. I know that the other player gets top 5 of the average, of wide receivers. And for a player like T. Higgins, that might work, but you're still screwing over that player from getting a big contract. And who knows, what if an injury happens? You're just totally preventing that player from making, they're already making life-changing money for this life, but you're taking away generational wealth. And I think T. Higgins just been getting screwed over with this one.
I agree. And that's why, I love NFL free agency, but I think that, for fans, you could pick and choose which one you like the most. But for players, there's no doubt that NBA and MLB free agency is 10 times better because you don't have to worry about the franchise tag. You get a fully guaranteed contract and you get to pick on what you want to do. Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. has all the leverage in the world as far as like if he's going to get traded during the trade deadline, and then next year he'll be the biggest free agent in all of baseball, and he'll want to get Juan Soto money. We'll see if he gets that, but he can tell the Blue Jays, suck it, I'm going to go to a different team. So, yeah.
Or muster up the funds to actually pay me next offseason. He didn't totally rule out sticking with the Blue Jays. He's just like, whatever that number you guys offered me, that's not what I was looking for, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a free agent next year.
Yeah, but wasn't his quote like now 29 other teams have the opportunity to wow me?
Well, they got to compete with 29 other. Yeah. So he still left the door open for the Blue Jays, but it's barely open. It's like cracked right now.
Meanwhile, T. Higgins was like, I just want a long-term deal. I don't care who it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Feel bad.
Someone should have gave it I do feel bad for him, but I don't know. It is business. I was actually looking back at because I heard Schefter bring up that Purdy could go with the tag and they'd pay him like $41 million a year, and $51 million a year after that, blah blah blah. So I was just looking up quarterbacks that have been franchise tagged, and the last three: Dak Prescott in 2020, Kirk Cousins in 2017, and then Drew Brees in 2012. And then I looked into it with Drew Brees. He filed a grievance because he'd been franchise tagged 3 times, and he ended up winning that grievance, which basically said if the Saints don't give him a long-term deal, he's out of here. You don't have to. You got to pay him now.
Did he win that?
He ended up winning the grievance. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's interesting.
It's crazy to look back on with it, man. Like I didn't think Drew Brees would be that guy.
And the biggest thing is that you get no guaranteed money. So Dak Prescott was lucky that the Cowboys signed him back because he broke his leg that year he was playing on the tag.
Yeah. But they throw in a tender, Derek. They throw in, give me a chicken tender rather than a contract tender. That's what I
love me a chicken tender. All right. That's it for football talk. Although I will say, if T. Higgins should blame anybody, it should be the Bengals, but also should be Joe Burrow, where he's so adamant that he wants T. Higgins back. And now the Bengals are like, well, Joe Burrow wanted you this bad, so we're holding you hostage now. It's like, if you're Joe Burrow, like, just let my guy free or sign him. Just do something. Warriors. I did not think they were going to win last night, especially with Steph having a bum ankle.
Boy.
But then Karl-Anthony Towns does not play for personal reasons. I thought that how would you describe that Hornets game? I thought it was like a slog. Like, I thought no team played particularly well, but the Hornets are terrible. So the Warriors got through that game and just exploded in the fourth quarter. But
I hate watching the Hornets, dude.
Yeah,
especially like the first time LaMelo wasn't playing, but when LaMelo's healthy, it's just your turn, my turn with LaMelo and Miles Bridges. And in the second half, it was mostly my turn with LaMelo. I mean, it's fun for a little bit, but geez, play after play, like that's all you got? LaMelo ISO? Okay.
And that's why I love the way the Warriors are playing right now, because they are moving the basketball. And that's kind of how I felt the previous night on Tuesday when they won that game with the Hornets. In the last few games, they've been kind of, not as crisp offensively. They don't move the ball. It's kind of ISO stuff with Steph. But last night, dude, how many backdoor cuts did they score on? Like, that must have been a product of Karl-Anthony Towns not playing, but it was there. Like, great play designs by Steve Kerr in the second half. They were horrible three-point shooting-wise in the first half, like with about 5 of 23. But then they got to go in the second half. I think, like Steve Kerr said it after the game, that they're a great two-way team right now, the way they play offensively and defensively. I think that right now what they really are is a great defensive team, and that benefits them offensively. The way that Jimmy Butler's making everybody else so scrappy. McGee Santos, that rebound he made last night, where he was basically out of bounds but kept his feet in and then threw that ball up court.
Dude,
and even Von Looney dunked it down.
Well, Moody was the one he threw it into from the baseline. But even if you watch Moody on that possession, he was the one that was moving all over the floor. It's just all these guys, man, they're just putting in maximum effort. Actually, Moody to me was darn near not the most impressive defensively, but he was the one that was guarding Brunson one-on-one. And Brunson can get to his spots, and actually I didn't even look up the stats, but it didn't feel like Brunson got to the free throw line that much, at least in the second half. And a big part of that is
did nothing in the second half.
And a big part of that is Moody switching. Like, the only blunder I saw was that weird sequence with Quentin Post where Draymond got kind of laid into him because he wasn't using his strength to get to the basket, kind of had an air ball, had 2 straight possessions with that. Then the sequence on defense where he gave up a foul to Anunoby, I think. Then Draymond's like, dude, come on, Quentin. Like, let's go.
Come on,
dude,
Quentin.
It's best Quentin since Carlos Quentin, as far as I'm concerned. Shout out to the Bay Area. Yeah, best Quentins in the Bay Area. We'll talk about that in the next podcast. No, man, they're and then everything's opening up for Steph.
Yeah.
I mean, God, the amount of 3-pointers and that last one where they're wide open and Miles Bridges turns it over, or not, Mikal Bridges turns it over to Draymond. Draymond hits Jimmy, then Jimmy hits Steph to the wide open for the wide open 3, and that really iced the game. That's like when Draymond talked about that, he's like, it's plays like that that show the growth, the instincts, and it's only been 10 games so far. It's pretty crazy just how well they've fit. I am still waiting for the one team that antagonizes Draymond and Jimmy. Like I'm still waiting for that. You've seen them kind of mellow, with exception to some instances with the ref, but I'm still waiting for that game. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so it's fun.
With Jimmy and Draymond yelling at each other?
Yeah, no, not like at each other, but like with the other team, where them two are like going at it with someone else on the opposition who maybe gets under their skin a little bit.
That's coming. I mean,
eventually. I just wonder when.
Draymond will back up his guy when they go back to Miami.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's actually good. That's probably when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, no doubt it's going to happen. But yeah, man, they're playing just solid basketball. And I mean, there's one sequence too. It was like they got a stop on the defensive end because they just did not let the Knicks get a shot. And then it was like from Steph to Jimmy. Looney hits sets a screen for Steph. Steph goes around the screen, gives it to Jimmy, and then Jimmy dumps it to Kevon Looney, who's wide open for the dunk. Like it's poetry, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, dude. It's beautiful basketball. I love ball movement as far as like the Warriors playing. I know that sounds,
Pause.
Yeah, pause, as the kids would say. Ball movement in basketball is beautiful, the way the Warriors play it. I'm not a big ISO guy. That's why I couldn't stand that shit. Like with the Brooklyn Nets, or right now with the Phoenix Suns. Like, you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, like, move the ball around. I never understood that with the Brooklyn Nets, too. They had three great shooters, and they just did ISO the whole time. It drives me nuts. But the way that the Warriors are playing right now, their three-point shooting isn't incredible right now. Like, Buddy Hield had 2 clutch threes last night, one at the end of the third quarter, one to start the fourth quarter. But it's really the mid-range game right now. And then Steph getting hot. Like, it kind of reminds me of the old days, as Jolo and Dibbs would say, Dubcon 3, where they just explode in the third quarter, the second half, and they step on their throats. Like, that's what I remember. The old days of the Warriors.
Have we oh no, now it's officially a return referring to the Warriors in Urban Dictionary. Dubcon had kind of a little spicy definition to it.
Well, that was referring to like
it was like anime porn or something.
Well, what's the actual terminology like that comes from?
I don't know.
No, but it's like the setting of like how things are like going as far as like a safety precaution.
Derek, I don't know. Like DEFCON?
Yeah, DEFCON, yeah.
Yeah, that's like full systems go, I think.
Right.
Damn, this person in Urban
Dictionary was anime porn?
Yeah. I remember searching it up when it happened, and it's like, this means anime porn, because I think a texter wrote it in. Dude, this is an Urban Dictionary, and it was written in 2019. Who stole that? We need to get the appropriate credit. Who are you, Muse?
Was that before you guys started saying it?
That was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
I remember. I shouted you out.
Credit where credit's due. God, we made shirts out of that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
You guys, Jolo and Dibbs.
Wow. What
Dubcon 3.
Oh, I'm hoping to run into Low in the meet. I don't know if he even lives here anymore, but I also don't need my body image torn down. So, I'd rather not see him at the same time.
Yeah, dude. Like, how many times did we try to get low on this fucking podcast?
I don't know. He'll join us straight from his car someday.
Sure he will. John Ludd even couldn't book low the other day. Lund was
Really?
like asking around, like, does everybody have Lorenzo O'Neal's number? And I was like, good luck, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I still text him every now and then, but I'm not going to ask him to come on the pod. I just like to.
Why not?
Because I like to keep up with my guy,
Anyway. Keep up with him on here.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think they can move up to the 5th seed? Right now they're at the 6th seed, and they definitely got help last night with the Phoenix Suns beating the Houston Rockets after awkward moment between Kevin Durant and Mike Budenholzer when he went full on Denzel Washington. You get your fucking hands off me.
I'd like to think they can. Of course, I'd like to think they can, Derek. Can they move up to the 5th seed? Yes. Do I think this team's good enough? But you can't control the Rockets. So what are you going to do?
Well, that's my thing. I think right now the teams that are contenders in the Western Conference are OKC. You got to buy into what the Lakers are doing right now. Denver, and I don't know about Memphis. I would put the Warriors above Memphis as far as contenders, just the teams that I'm buying. I think Memphis could be above the Warriors in seeding, but the Rockets are slipping right now, and they got a lot of inexperience on that team. So I know they got Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet, but I would probably, if I had to guess at the end of the day, I think the Warriors surpassed them with the head-to-head record. And, yeah, it's 3 games. The Warriors should catch them easily.
Sure. But they also have a not like an easy schedule coming up. But at least, so they got 2 straight games against the Pelicans. Then one against Orlando, and you should beat Orlando. Orlando can't score. They're great defensively, but they can't score at all. You should. I don't know if they'll beat Phoenix, because obviously you just mentioned that Phoenix beat them. Whereas I don't know. I think they can beat them. They should beat the Mavericks. Should beat the Bulls. Should beat the Sixers. Again, the Magic. They got some very.
By the way, I think I misspoke. It was the Suns that beat the Clippers last time.
Oh well, they got. Look, man, they got a lot of winnable games. I think, it's going to be fat. I think the last game of the season is going to be fascinating for the Dubs, man. They got the Clippers in the afternoon to close out the regular season.
I don't know, man. I think at that point, I think the Warriors would probably avoid the play-in.
Maybe, but you never know.
You do never know. But right now, I'm fairly confident that they'll avoid that. I have my sights set on the 5th seed.
Sure. I would too, but it's all predicated on what these other teams do. And I just think that's I don't know. I think it's such a broad question. Of course, I think they could get the 5th seed. Can they? Yes. Are they going to? I don't know. I don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out, Derek.
See, dude. See, this is what I go through every day, man. Now being a radio host, where it's I don't know. Why are you asking me? I just want to dick around the whole time. Can't I just make references to shit? I have to give a take every fucking segment. Good Lord. All these people on the text line. Get a fucking life. I'm not talking about you guys in the chat. I love all of you. But these fucking anonymous people on the text line. Give a take, Derek. Go fuck yourself. Anyway. Should we talk about the Oscars?
Sure.
Let's do that. And by the way, my guy Adrian Brody won Best Actor. And that's all I needed, Steven.
Oh, crap. I forgot about that. Oh, shit. All right. Hang on one sec.
What, you texting Jesse to get you hot sauce?
No, I'm writing a little got a little ticker. Trying to let the people know what we're talking about.
All right. You do that as Steven gets his hot sauce, as my guy Adrian Brody won Best Actor for The Brutalist. And Timothy Chalamet went home empty-handed. As soon as Steven gets back, we'll talk about the Oscars and whatnot. But you got it?
No, I got the sauce. I'm getting the chips.
Oh, he's getting the chips. Okay. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Timothy Chalamet didn't win. I can't say because I didn't see most of these movies, but I thought that was pretty set in stone. I thought they would go with, not set in stone, I shouldn't say that, but I thought that they would go with Brody because I thought Brutalist was going to win Best Picture, but apparently this movie Honora is pretty good. I didn't know much about it before Oscar night. Saw the trailer, was like, that's interesting. The plot seems fairly simple. It's about a prostitute that falls in love with the guy. They get married, and then her Russian family's not a fan of it.
Conan's joke was perfect off of that.
Yeah, the basically the Putin joke he told.
Yeah, where he's like, finally, an American willing to stand up to a Russian dictator.
It's pretty good. That was the highlight to me of the ceremony, was Conan O'Brien, man. He fucking nailed it, I thought. Love Conan, seen him host, I think the Emmys a couple times, Golden Globes, whatever it was, but he brought his own NFL honors. He brought his own style. Like, it felt like an old episode of Late Night with Conan O'Brien, where he had the sandworms from Dune playing the harp, and that's like the straight up like a Conan bit. And Nick Offerman doing the VO for him. The best joke of the night, in my opinion, he did the Kendrick joke where he said, well, it's the halftime of the show, which means that Kendrick Lamar will come out right now and call Drake a pedophile. And then everybody's like, ooh. And he was like, I'm lawyered up. The best joke was when he said, my favorite movie of the year was Baby Girl with Antonio Banderas. He plays a character that can't get his wife to orgasm. It's been the most challenging role of Antonio Banderas' career.
Yeah.
Should have called me, buddy.
Yeah.
Typical Conan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, got it. Forgot.
Just look at the sauce.
I already licked some of it, like, off the thing. Okay.
Are you doing it? Yeah. So what was your favorite moment of the Oscars, Steven?
Favorite moment? Looking back, Ben Stiller.
Yeah. Still had the time to tweet about the Knicks winning.
I don't think that's him that runs his own account, but
I think he did an interview where he said that he was monitoring the game at the same time while he was doing the Oscars.
But Ben Stiller always does the thing where the category he's presenting, he always does some form of like a physical joke.
Yeah.
Off of that.
Where he would, when he did best makeup, he dressed up like an avatar.
Full avatar. Or like when he did, I think, visual effects, he wore like an entire green screen suit.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. He is great at that. So doing production design, not having the stage work, I don't know. Ben Stiller's kind of like fallen out of comedy guy. Like, I wonder how, let's just say a Gen Z person like your vibes guy, Austin.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how they view Ben Stiller. Like, do they view him like we do, as like a comedic genius, or is he more of like he's kind of a mysterious director,
Yeah, Ben Stiller has gone the Jordan Peele route to me, where he went from funny guy to now I'm an auteur. I make a mysterious show in Severance, and that's what you know me for now. But I do like that he livens it up a little bit and comes out and does his goofy Oscar bits.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd say that was my favorite, but I didn't watch many of the movies. Adam Sandler, the thing with Adam Sandler was great.
Oh yeah, the Adam Sandler thing was spot on. By the way, Happy Gilmore 2 coming out July 25th. It sounds like they got a date.
Oh, nice. What else about that show? I thought it was a good show.
Yeah. What'd you think about the James Bond ode? I thought that was kind of awkward because, like, it's James Bond's not going away, but obviously it's going to be very different with Amazon, I guess, running that franchise going forward.
I
think it was just kind of forced.
A little bit. He needs something to fill the time. I thought the In Memoriam was a little dark.
Dude, the music they used,
mm-hmm.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It could be a little more uplifting. It was like depressing as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. So yeah,
Adrian Brody's speech, way too long.
Okay, here's my thing with that. Adrian Brody, he's a talker. Good performance in Winning Time as Pat Riley. Yeah, supposedly he has the longest speech in Oscar history, around 6 minutes, and he thanked a lot of people. I did appreciate him at the very end talking about how we need to be better as people and stop with the racism, anti-Semitism, everything going on in this country. But yeah, he took a little bit of time and he did the same thing he did last time, 20 years ago, after he kissed Halle Berry. He told the music people, "Don't play me off. That's so rude. Stop that. Let me speak." Did the same thing again. And I get that. That's your moment to talk. But also, you can't be rambling on, Adrian, and thanking Harvey Weinstein's son, which I don't know. I guess he runs the company now. Whatever. That was just an awkward moment. But yeah, did you see Halle Berry give him a smooch on the red carpet before?
I did.
Yeah, so like if Halle Berry didn't mind, like a lot of people were showing that clip of Brody kissing Halle Berry back in the day, and it looks bad. It was an unwanted kiss, or whatever. But if Halle Berry does that to him, I think it's all in good fun now. 20 years later, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Adrian Brody also involved in one of the most
awkward moments in SNL history.
No, controversial coaching decisions in baseball history, Bay Area baseball history, specifically when
I know where you're going.
Yeah, Danny Hemmerling. When Coach Knox decided. Oh, there's Matthew McConaughey too, by the way. After they won,
they don't even talk of the movie, do they?
After they won the pennant, no. Hammerling does just a little bit. Oh, there he is. Yeah, felt like I was floating through the air, Skip. This was a huge moment here in the movie, a turning point, because Danny Hemmerling, total liability in the batter's box, known for his glove, definitely not for his bat. And when Coach Knox went from Mitchell to Hammerling, Mitchell, their best hitter, to Hammerling, it's like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, what are you thinking? And the little kid beside him was like, it could happen. Then the ball goes all over the place, and it was all crazy. What a time. Huge coaching decision. Questionable. Tony Danza, sick.
I was more of a Angels in the End Zone guy.
What's Angels in the End Zone?
It was a sequel.
Oh, really?
No, can't say I've seen it. I probably have. It probably was on Disney Channel in the background. It's been a long time since I've seen Angels in the Outfield.
This was my favorite part about Adrian Brody's character. He chewed the shit out of that gum when he was up batting. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
He's like,
available.
I'll make another Clark Griswold Christmas Vacation reference. It was like he was trying the turkey.
It's a little dry.
Yeah, didn't know how to. He didn't know how to handle his gum. But never forget Danny Hammerling. That's crazy.
There you go. Adrian Brody wins Best Actor, and the Best Actress winner, Mikey Madison. Is it Mikey?
Yeah.
Sure, it's Mikey or not Mickey?
I'm pretty sure.
All right, Mikey Madison is her last name.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know who she was until the movie. Like I didn't know Honora was a movie until the Oscars.
Right.
But then when she won the award, I was like, wait a minute, I know her. I know all you. Spawn Ranch. Yeah, Spawn Ranch. You were on a horsey. She's in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where she's the one that gets torched by DiCaprio.
Yep. And
good for her.
I mean, that's why the director, when he won Best Director, ended up thanking Quentin Tarantino for casting her and all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to find a photo because it's crazy how much star power the Manson family had in that movie.
Yeah, it's Elvis, Austin Butler.
Mm-hmm.
It's the girl from Stranger Things, Uma Thurman's daughter.
It's Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney's in it too.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
That's all I can remember. And then the Academy Award-winning actress.
It's going to take me a long time to find. I don't know if I'll be able to find it in time.
Well, there you go. That's the Oscars. And I think the highlight was Conan by far.
Of course. They need to have him on again. He's much better than Jimmy Kimmel.
I think so. Like Jimmy, like Conan, I'll be honest. Like I just wanted to be funny jokes. Like I loved how he did like the old school thing where like Billy Crystal would put himself in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So he put himself in the substance. It was a very simple, funny thing, but it worked.
I was hoping he was gonna I was hoping he was gonna make it like the Emmys he did back in like the early 2000s, where he went through like a lot of movies.
That's right.
Instead, it was just the substance. But
Just the one.
I was hoping that he was gonna do something like, I don't know, who knows what it would have been with Honora.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been a little bit. That would have been something. A complete unknown. It would have been funny if, like, he was one of the sound operators when Bob Dylan started going crazy during the Monterey Jazz Festival.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah,
like that. Like a little montage. I was kind of, I was a little disappointed they only did one of those because that's when Conan's at his best.
His monologue was fairly long, which was good. It was a very good monologue, and then this the song and dance number, which is very monorail Simpsons episode, which he wrote.
Yeah. Also, I think one of my favorite jokes following the night though was with that best actress nominee or winner. How it was basically the same plot as The Substance.
What was?
Where just a younger version of Demi Moore ended up taking her life.
Oh, the irony of the whole thing.
Yeah, just the irony that it was exactly like the plot of The Substance.
I guess have you seen that movie?
Nope.
I wanted that's the thing. Like, I didn't see any of these movies. I think the only movie that I saw was nominated for an Oscar was, I think, Better Man, because it was up for like best visual effects, but that didn't win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch. Like I was talking about the other day, like it isn't me. Like is it like I was like blaming the Oscar movies aren't as good as it used to be. But maybe just because maybe it's just me because I'm not willing to go to the theater as much. Like back in the day, I was willing to go to see anything. Now I'm very like I agree with what Sean Baker said, the writer director of Honora, where you need to go to the theater to really appreciate these films. At the same time, I said this on the air. Do I want to go to the theater to watch Honora? Not really. But that's just me. Like that, I think that's all of us these days where we're so confined to our couches. If something's streaming, you're more likely to watch it at your home. When really we should be going back to the theater. That's where things are at its best.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't know. Jesse and I have gone to the movie theater as much as we can, but we didn't really see it with this year's stuff. We talked about it on the last podcast. It's like 3 hours and 40 minutes for The Brutalist. Like, I don't want to go to the theater for that long.
Like last year, I thought there was more movies that were, in my opinion, interesting. Like I wanted to go see Oppenheimer in theaters. I wanted to go see The Killers of the Flower Moon. I wanted to see Poor Things. This time around, this is with having streaming, it's like I'll wait to see the Bob Dylan movie when it's streaming. I'll wait for that movie. Like I don't need to I'm not dying to go to the theater to watch that movie, and maybe that's on me.
To me, it's hard. It's going to be hard to top the Oscars. I think that was in 2010 or 2011. What was it? 2010. Yeah. Look at those Best Picture nominees, man. You had The Hurt Locker. You had Avatar, District 9, The Blind Side, Inglourious Bastards, Precious. You had Up. You had Up in the Air. Just hit after hit after hit. Jeff Bridges doing Crazy Heart, dude. George Clooney and Up in the Air, Colin Firth, A Single Man.
And I would argue that Hurt Locker was good, not great. And Inglourious
Hurt Locker
Bastards
was amazing. What are you talking about?
Inglourious Bastards should have won Best Picture.
No, it shouldn't have. What?
You think Hurt Locker is better than Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw that in theaters, and I thought it was solid.
Hurt Locker had me on the edge of my seat. Inglourious Bastards, I loved. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. And Christopher Walken, what's his name? Christoph
Waltz.
Christoph Walken.
Yeah, goodbye to it.
You have this milk. Good milk. It's creamy.
Wait, hey, where are all these Jews? You got these Jews? It's kind of new De Niro there, but I don't
know. Oh man. But Christoph Walken.
And that's your winner for Best Impression next Jammies.
There you go.
Mark that one down.
He had the greatest. I think maybe the greatest role of all time with I don't even remember the guy's name. Now I'm going to say the one from Die Hard. I think it's Hans Landa. Is that Die Hard?
No, it's Hans Gruber in Die Hard.
So it's Hans Landa. I think I got it
you're right.
here.
You're right.
Hans Landa. Yeah. Don't forget the cream. All right. You got the cream on the strudel. Don't forget the cream. But Hurt Locker was all time, man.
I don't think I've seen I don't think I've seen Hurt Locker since I saw it in theaters, so it's been a minute.
It's so good. But
okay.
There was also the little drama because like James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow.
I remember that. Yep.
And had a little divorce, I think, and then who was it? Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin were the host because they had that movie with Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, you remember that well. Yeah, where they're both banging Meryl Streep at the same time.
Yeah, actually that's one of my favorite monologues that's ever been done in Oscars history. Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin were hilarious. They're like, look, Alec, it's that damn Helen Mirren. Steve, it's Dame Helen Mirren. Like little things like that. I thought it was great.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
You watched the game last night. Should Common, I don't know, Common and Jennifer Hudson were together. Should Common have done more to avoid the basketball hitting her in the face? Did you see this?
No.
Jennifer Hudson got hit in the face with a basketball. It was Common, Jennifer Hudson, and Tracy Morgan sitting next to them.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What? Where?
At MSG, watching the Warriors and Knicks.
Oh no, I didn't. Oh God, should I play this? I just checked.
Yeah, let's watch it. I was thinking the whole time that Tracy Morgan should be like, if Jennifer Hudson was ma, I won't even do it. Just play it.
Well, I tell you, he has been such a positive. Protect Jennifer Hudson. Protect Jennifer Hudson.
Oh no, not the glass. Those look real expensive too, partner.
And Common is making sure everybody's okay.
Let me see what Common did. Did he protect her?
He tried. He
No,
actually
he
did.
All right.
Did he protect her?
He tried.
I'm sitting there thinking, Jennifer, you got to pay attention. Yeah, that's what I think.
Protect Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah, he tried.
Those look real expensive too, partner.
And Common is making sure everybody's okay.
Let me see what Common did. Did he protect her?
He tried.
He knocked the ball away, but yeah.
Gosh, he was pissed.
Yeah, she was not happy.
Oh, Jennifer.
I wonder if if Common was like, hey, baby, I'm sorry that that ball and that player hit you in the face, but I can sleep at the bed tonight, right? I'm not having to sleep on the couch. No, there's no way. You're sleeping with me tonight. Could have done my Tracy Morgan impression.
You could have. Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson was my wife. I would have. I don't know. I have no material. All right, real quick.
I'm not even going to attempt it.
It's late. All right, real quick. I just want to end on this. We didn't do this last podcast, but I think we should do it because I think of him as the best coach in movie history. Rest in peace to Gene Hackman. He got a good ode from Morgan Freeman during the Oscars. Gene Hackman, obviously, for Superman and as Lex Luthor, or The French Connection, Popeye Doyle, Birdcage. If you've never seen Birdcage, it's a hilarious movie.
Yeah.
But when I think of Gene Hackman, I think of two roles. I think of him in Hoosiers, which I saw Hoosiers, I want to say like 15 years ago for the first time. Solid movie. Not one of my favorite movies of all time, but people love it, so I respect that. It's considered one of the best sports movies of all time. But he's great in that movie as the coach. But I know Gene Hackman as another great coach, and I think you would agree with me on this one, Stephen. Jimmy McGinty in The Replacements. He's coaching a ragtag team of replacements, scab players, and for whatever reason, he's wearing a straw hat. And his speech about, like, talking to the other players about what scares them.
Like Tom Landry, Derek. Come on.
Yeah, I know. He looked like Tom Landry, and he's asking all the players, like, what scared them. And Orlando Jones, the 7-Up guy's like, spiders scare the shit out of me, coach. And then Keanu Reeves talks about quicksand. It's a good scene. And Gene Hackman, I believed him as a head coach way more than I believe like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. So rest in peace to the greatest coach in movie history, Gene Hackman.
And let's share an appreciation for one of the greatest scenes in sports movie history.
I need that ball. Get me the ball.
You need the ball.
Get me the ball.
Get you the ball.
Are you going to get me the ball? I hope he doesn't kill somebody.
The better scene, though, is when he gets the ball and they scream at each other and there's an awkward silence and he goes, "Go sit on the bench, Danny."
Okay. Yeah.
And lastly, I don't know if you were a fan of the show back in the day, Steven, but I was a huge Adult Swim kid. And I love watching reruns of Family Guy and Futurama and all of like the Hanna-Barbera shows where they take like an old show from the 60s, whether it was like C-Lab or Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and then change it over, dub it. There would be no Adult Swim without Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Hilarious show. Was on for years. Basically, it was taking the old Hanna-Barbera Space Ghost and turned it into a late-night talk show that was a little raunchy. And the voice actor for that, George Lowe, passed away yesterday. And he actually was the VO guy for The Bone, one of KMBR's sister stations. So, yeah, I thought he did a great job. That show cracked me up. They got real people to be part of the interviews. I remember like all the characters. They had Space Ghost, Moltar, Brack. The Brack show was just weird, but I loved it. So rest in peace to George Lowe, the voice of Space Ghost.
Oh, rest in peace, man. Never really watched it. Can't say that.
Dude, you're missing out. Like you always, Derek loves his obscure 90s comedy shows, but that's definitely one of them.
Yep.
All right. That's it for tonight.
I'll say one more thing.
Go for it.
Steph Curry and Marshawn Lynch are going to be producing a Mac Dre documentary, so be on the lookout for that. They are going to, alongside his mother, they are going to explore the life and death of her son, the birth of a cultural movement, and a generational impact that a Bay Area MC had on.
That will be very interesting.
Yep, Mac Dre is a personal favorite. Like, we always talk about top 5 rappers, and to me, Mac Dre is number 1. Just simplicity, the way he spoke, just so much swag, so cool.
Yeah.
That's
so cliche from Steven. Anyway,
is it?
Yeah, Bay Area kid.
Yeah, but I don't think people really appreciate Mac Dre and the actual journey that he went through, from the early Mac Dre.
No, I got it.
The later Mac Dre to the pre-jail and the post-jail Mac Dre. He was a different dude.
I definitely hear that. Yeah,
I'm really excited for that, dog. It's gonna be great.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Steven, are we coming back on Saturday
or Sunday?
Well, here was the game plan.
Well,
I figured we do Saturday.
Saturday, I got my niece's birthday in the afternoon.
What time?
11.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe we'll just do back to back then. Okay, so the game plan then will be we'll do a show, a NFL free agency preview show on Sunday, and then we'll be right back here on Monday to react to all of the frenzy, all the fuckery, as we call it, that will take place on Monday as the legal tampering period will commence. And then Steven is going to Las Vegas next week. So I may ask Alon to do a little show with me next Wednesday. And then we'll be back next weekend for our show with Mike Silver, who's going to join us on March 16th.
Excellent.
Look forward to that. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Sunday then, 11 o'clock. Usual time. To everybody in the chat today, thanks to Otis Bird, Pat H., our 2024 JYOM Opiner of the Year Award winner, AJ Cruz. No, AJ Cruz did not win it. It was Rock a New Era. Ernie won, AJ Cruz. Tacky was in here for a little bit of time. Danny Golding TV. That's it for tonight, guys. We'll see you on Sunday. Steven, say what you always say.
Hammering for Mitchell. Go back to Cincinnati. That's just our